Okay guys, we are now on to chapter 12 and we're going to start with modeling inverse variation. Okay, so we're going to identify direct and inverse variation and we're going to graph them and you're going to be able to see what it looks like. So direct is where something varies directly. So in the real world, that would be like, say you work a job and you get paid $10 an hour. Then every hour you work, your increase would be $10. So if you did 1 hour, you'd get 10. 2 times 10 would be 20 for 2 hours, 3 times 10. So it's always at the same rate. So that is a direct. An inverse, you can see here, this is like a fraction. So A is the unknown, and Y and X are self-explanatory. They're going to be in the word problem, or just solving and finding them. So those are the two equations, direct and inverse. So think of inverse as a fraction. So we're going to start here. So the very beginning is tell whether the equation represents a direct variation, an inverse variation, or neither. So one of the things is we always have to solve for y equals. You can't judge like this, okay, nor this. This you can look and we'll get to that. But they have to be solved for y for us to see. So right here I've got xy equals 4. So to solve for y, I'm going to divide by x. So I'm left with y equals 4x. So now I can judge. So I look over here. So which one is this going to be? Obviously we can see that the first one here, A, is an inverse. Okay? It's very easy to spot, but like I said, you have to solve it for y. So this is not solved for y. We have to get rid of the 2. So that means we multiply both sides by 2. This is going to cancel. I'm going to y equals 2 times x. We don't say x times 2. We always write the number in front. So now that I've solved this, I look up here. It looks like this. So A is always your number here too. So this is direct. So the B is direct. And what do you notice about, before we get to C, what do you notice about direct and inverse? They don't have anything added. There's no +5 or +3. So the fact that I have a plus something here tells me it can be neither. Okay? It can't be direct or inverse. Okay, so it's pretty easy to spot. So the beginning, just spotting if it's direct, inverse, or neither, you should be able to solve for y and see that real easy. Okay, so we're going to move on and we're going to graph. So I'm going to go ahead and graph it from scratch. So they want us to graph y equals 4 divided by x. Okay, so these are inverse, all right? So we're going to see how this graphs out. So let me plot some points. Before we start, I want to say something. What number can we never have in the bottom of a fraction? Hopefully you're going to tell me 0. So 0 is not going to work. So I'm going to start in the middle and say 0 is undefined. And we're going to see what that looks like in a minute on the graph, okay? So that means it doesn't exist at that spot, okay? We've spoken about that, but now you're going to see what it looks like on a graph. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use numbers on the negative and the positive side of 0. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in -1, okay? So 4 divided by -1 is -4. Pretty easy. Then I'm going to go ahead and do -2. 4 divided by -2 is -2. So maybe we just do one more, actually let's make it -4. Let's make it easy. You can have a fraction, it's no big deal. You could have done -3, that's fine. But 4 divided by -4 is -1. I just try to always pick numbers that make it easy. So I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to pick 1, 2, and 4 to match the negative numbers that I picked, I'm now going to do the positive. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 4 divided, you're plugging in for x, of course. You should see that these are the numbers for x, and when we solve it, we get the answer for y. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 4 divided by 4, when I plug 4 in for x, I get 1. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to show you. Now you have to forgive my graphing. It's not the greatest, but you're going to get the idea of how the graph goes. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Just say that for right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just say -1, -2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just to have a clue. I just did a little bit more in the y. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start graphing. At -4, which is here, we're at -1. So right here. Okay. At -2, we're going to -2. So at -2, we're going down to -2, which is right about here. Okay. Then at -1, we're going down to -4. At 0, it's undefined. That means there's nothing here. Okay. So this part of it will go like this. So that's the part. Okay, this is an asymptote. It's going to get closer and closer along here, and then closer and closer along here. It cannot touch this. That's what it means by undefined. There is nothing there at that spot. Okay, so all it can do is like a U shape like this. Then we're going to do the top part. At 1, we've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. At 2, we have 2 here. And at 4, we have 1. So we've got the same deal going on. We're not allowed to, this whole space is gone. It's undefined. At 0, you have nothing there, so I can't pass it. So that means the most I can do is skim real close and continue doing that like this. So that is what y equals 4 to the x looks like. The negative part looks like this, and the positive part looks like this. And there is allowed nothing here, so that's why you can't pass here. It just goes up here, and that's why you would come down here and you can't pass at all. So that is an inverse function, okay? So it looks like that, and that's what it means all the time when you say you can't have a 0 in the bottom of a fraction, because there's nothing there. There's a complete like gap here, okay? All right, so we're going to do a -1, and the more you do this, you just practice and you'll get proficient at it. So we're going to see the difference when we put y equals -4 to the x. All right, so I'm going to pick that up a bit, and we're going to pick some numbers, and then we're going to look at this now and see. So the positive looks like this. So do you think you can figure out maybe before, I'm not going to say anything, what you think the negative is? So if I have a positive and a negative, obviously they're going to be slightly different, okay? So if I've got it looking like this, don't you think the negative is probably going to look like that? So let's go ahead and see, all right? So again, I can't have a 0, it's undefined, so I'm going to put it in the center here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the same numbers. I'm going to say -1. So at -1 divided by -4 makes that a +4. -2, -2 divided by -4 changes now. Now we get positives. At -4, -4 divided by -4 gives me a +1. Okay, so then we're going to go on the other side and we're going to do 1, 2, and 4. You always want to do the same. Whatever negative numbers you pick here, you want to do the positives, okay? So -4 divided by a +1 is a -4. -4 divided by a +2 is a -2. And -4 divided by 4 is -1. So let's look at the difference. Okay. Again, it's going to have that shape. 1's in one part, 1's in the other. 4, 5, 6. I'm just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So here we go. Now at negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 1. So we're in the positive. See the difference? Then at negative 2, x of negative 2, my y value is 2. So it's going up like that. And then at negative 1, I'm going to go up to 4. So again, there's nothing here. So look at the difference. The negative makes it like this. Okay? So just like the positive is here and here, it's in the first and the third quadrant. And think about it. They're both positives here and 2 negatives make positive here. So that would be true. Negatives are in here and here. All right? So that means the other part of it has to be here. So let's go ahead and graph that part. Then at 1, we go down to negative 4, which is right about here. At 2, we go down to negative 2, and then at 4, we go to negative 1. So again, just like you should have an idea once you do one quadrant where you're expecting the other one to be. So you know positives are in the first and third, and negatives are in the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. So you have an idea. So you should know while you're doing it now if you're in the right quadrant and if they're opposite of each other, okay? You're not going to have an inverse where you have it in the second and the first, or the third and the fourth. They have to be opposite each other. So that gives you an idea if you're doing it right, okay? That helps you. And you're going to practice and do more. And this is what we call hyperbolas. We haven't really gotten to that. But they're like half parabolas. So they call them hyperbolas, okay? This is a branch of this is like a parabola here and a parabola here. So we call these branches hyperbolas, okay? So let me just write that. That's how you spell it, hyperbolas. Okay, so we are going to use, that's it with the graphing. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn this over. And let's go back here and use this now. Okay. So here is a graph, the difference between a direct variation and inverse. We just did the inverses. We know that they look like this. Direct has a special thing. It always goes through the center 0, 0 right here, and it's a straight line, okay? It's like y equals 3x, y equals 2x, y equals a half x, y equals negative 7x. All of those are direct variations. They don't have a plus or minus added on. The inverse never goes through 0. There's always that gap.